And we are live. Hello, bright souls. Welcome and thank you so much for joining us on this first installment of Spirit Medicine, Medicine for the Soul. You guys can catch these episodes, these shows every, what is today? Sunday. And we got a really special first show here. So I'm with my buddy and longtime friend and investigator, Mark. What's up, Mark?
Hi, how's it going?
When I lived down in Cincinnati, we had the team together called Ascension Paranormal Research Team, and we captured some amazing data of an apparition that followed Mark. And before we get into that, though, every installment of Spirit Medicine, medicine that is good for the soul, I want to read a little passage from this book called How to Smile by Siech Nan Hyun, I think is how you pronounce his name. But he is a Zen master and is very good with mindset and things of that nature. Hey, Kim, thanks so much for tuning in and checking us out. So, this passage is about depression. Embracing our suffering may seem to be the opposite of what we really want to do, especially if the suffering is very large, as with depression. Depression is widespread in our time, and it can take away our peace, our joy, our stability, even our ability to eat, move about, and do simple tasks. It can seem insurmountable, and we may think the only thing we can do is either run from it or give into it. But recognizing and embracing this great suffering without judgment, very important. The suffering will naturally calm down, and when you have the chance to look at it, into it deeply, to find out why it has come to you, it has been trying to get your attention and tell you something. And now you can take the opportunity to listen. You can ask someone to look with you, a teacher, a friend, a therapist. Whether alone or together with friends, you can explore its roots, heal the root to heal the tree, and see what nutrients and habits of consumption you have been feeding your sorrow. You can discover how to transform the compost of this suffering into the flowers of understanding, compassion, and joy. I love that. As someone that struggled with depression myself when I was younger, that's very true. As I sat with my own suffering, I was able to see into it and to realize where I was causing, getting in my own way, and what it was trying to teach me.
I agree with you.
Thank you, sir. All right. So, Mark, let's dive in because this is really kind of cool. When I first met Mark, dude, you were so scared of anything paranormal, and we actually you called us in to investigate your apartment.
I was. I was very terrified of the paranormal and things like that with my fear to go along with my fear of death, and I wanted nothing to do with it until I started, asking you questions about it after the investigation, and that's what really brought light into me wanting to try the hobby, and then I eventually became doing it full time.
And that's with a lot of people. I find like me personally too. I had some pretty crazy paranormal experiences when I was a kid that made me question things, and I wanted answers. One of the reasons that led me to do it, to start investigating.
Yeah, exactly. It's very interesting until you have to have it come to you, and then that's when the questions start coming about whether it's something you want to delve more into or if you want to completely stay away from it. It's definitely an acquired taste to people, but it's definitely something I over the years became very interested in.
Yes, and we did a lot of investigations together.
We did quite a few, quite a few.
What was your favorite one that we did, man?
Oh God, there's so many. I'm still gonna have to say the one down in New Richmond. That was that was the funnest one. The most interesting one was still the Masonic Temple.
Yeah, that New Richmond one was pretty fun.
It was a lot of fun. It was more fun than investigating. They're still investigating, but we made more fun out of it. But it was definitely my favorite one for the aesthetics was definitely the Masonic Temple in downtown Cincinnati.
That was an amazing investigation, and I'm so very I don't know, honored that we actually got to go in because if you're not familiar with the Masons, they are very select about who they let into their stuff.
Very select and very secretive.
And we were given full unfeathered access to the entire thing, to their entire temple. And I even had to go and meet with the grand I forget what the term they use, but the head guy. I had to go
I,
meet.
I think it's Grand Master, I believe.
I think you might be correct. Um, we have another buddy, Mark, that is also a Mason. So, Mark, if you catch this, let us know in the comments if that's the correct term, man. I appreciate it. But that was really cool. And to circle back real quick, in Richmond, we were working. Well, I think we worked like 12-hour shift that day. We were dog tired.
Yep.
And we stopped and got these 5-hour energy shots. And it was the first time I ever tried taking one. And I realized that, yeah, they gave me energy, made me stay awake, but man, did that make me loopy. And we had cameras facing down this long hallway. It's like 80 feet long. And we kept seeing these red lights. They would open and then they would close. And it took us almost like what, 3/4 of the night to track these things down.
It did. It took a while.
And we're walking up the corridor and we're tracking it with the cameras. It's fine, we can finally see it. And we see them close, we see it go away, then come back, go away, come back. When we finally get close enough, it's a giant bat that ends up flying at us through this hallway.
it, it
And
was it was it was funny nonetheless.
yeah, it scared the ever living heck out of us.
It was still an interesting place, though. Still, it's still very interesting, especially with the under because it was part of the Underground Railroad.
Yes, that particular place in New Richmond sits right on the Ohio River that connects or separates Ohio and Kentucky. And that place had a long history of being used as an underground railroad to help people escape into the north. Very fascinating history. And while we were there, we also were able to discover that the guy had some holes in his roof that was leaking.
Yep, badly.
Yeah. So that was a really cool investigation. And then the Masonic Temple, I don't know, man, like for as much as like spiritual work that they do in those temples, I was thinking we would get more, but we did get some.
We did get some stuff. Honestly, in my opinion, it was more of the historical aspect of it. I think they didn't leave a lot of stuff behind, spiritual wise.
That is true. And now thinking of that, I could see with their rituals and everything that the Masons do, they probably have some very good energetic hygiene habits.
And I agree. I think that's why a lot of stuff wasn't left behind, because especially when we went into that one room that they had what they call the death couch, where they display the body. I think they had a lot of cleansing and stuff going on in there that released a lot of the spirits that were in there.
I could see that. And the cool thing about that is that this was one of the main issues that they told me about is when you first walked into the temple, to the right was a little like 10 by 10 room. It was
Hmm.
like a little library. In the center of this, they had a 14th century handwritten Bible.
Wow, I didn't even know that.
We were asked to be very careful in that room, so I kind of kept everybody out of it. But when I did the initial walkthrough, the guy that I was with showed it to me, and like it was amazing, and the energy off that thing was very interesting.
Oh, I bet it was.
And what he told me is that they would hear footsteps going from that room. So when you walked out of that room, you walked down the hallway, then turned down another hallway to the right. That's where the death couch was, where they would
Right.
display their deceased loved ones. And their claim was that they would hear footsteps going back and forth between those two, between the Bible and the bench.
And I can see that. I can definitely see them, especially for the deceased who'd want to go read their rights and the Bible and stuff like that. I can definitely see that in that building. I mean, it's a very historical building with a lot of there's a lot of historical artifacts in that building that had to do with the Masons,
Yes,
which I guarantee at least 95% of that had a lot of spiritual energy attached to it.
absolutely. 100% agree with that. And
And being too, sorry, not to interrupt.
go ahead.
Um, with the Masons being how secretive they of a group as they are, I also think that a lot of spirits they keep to that, so they didn't want to show a lot of themselves with as secretive as a group as they are.
That goes, I don't think you were with me this time because I did another investigation with another group. I think I was just by myself. But we ended up getting a recording. It was at some private residence. But we got a recording of a like an older man going, shh, they're recording. And before that, it sounded like a younger, like a kid, almost like a teenager trying to communicate with us.
Right. So they're being secretive also.
Yeah, that's just super interesting. Now, the piece that we would love to share with you guys is this comes from a private residence, and the lady whose home it was had a falling out with her ex-husband, and largely over different spiritual beliefs. He was a mainstream Christian. She was a pagan, or is a pagan, and a falling out, and he ended up keeping her kids. When her son became 18, he reached out to her and they were trying to rebuild their relationship. And he ended up passing away shortly after that. And the thing is, about like 2 weeks after he passed away is when she finally called me and said, Mike, there's weird shit going on here. I have no idea what's going on. Please come and see what you can do and help in any way you can. And we were able to capture this video. Maybe. Backgrounds. Oh, I'm gonna play that one more time.
Hmm.
What do you guys think of that?
I still get chills when I watch that.
Any feedback? I would love to hear it. Uh,
And so would I. I'd like to know people's opinions. We've gotten a lot of mixed opinions about that video, whether it be that we put it in there, that it's a pixelated picture, that it's just pixelated, that it's we get a lot of mixed opinions about that video, which I love. I mean, it's all about criticism, whether it be constructive or non-constructive criticism. You always get those people who are skeptics who don't believe. You got those people who are like overly excited about like, oh my god, they got something, and then you got the people who are just kind of in the middle of, well, it's there, it is what it is.
and the thing that most don't know about is that camera was functioning completely fine when we set up. About 15, 20 minutes into the investigation, the camera got knocked over by itself. It just
Yes, it
fell
did.
over.
It did.
And after it did that, it kind of started going a little fuzzy. But that was set up, that camera was set up behind the homeowner, her chair, her like recliner that she would sit in. And she told me that she always would feel something staring at her and that she felt like it was a relative, someone that she knew. And that deep emotional connection, mother and son, between parent and child, creates a very strong energetic bond, especially when there may have been things, left unsaid or some quote unquote unfinished business that consciousness wanted to wrap up, so to speak. in the best way that it could. And after we were done investigating, I went through and started blessing and cleansing the area. And as I would bless a room, I would close the door behind me. That way I knew it was done. The doors kept freaking opening back up. I think it took me like 2 hours to get it to where the doors wouldn't not open back up, because that would tell me something was still there. It was just a really cool investigation. And they did, the clients freaked out a little bit because her husband, or ex-husband now, didn't sleep in that house for like 2 weeks after I showed him that video. He refused.
Sorry,
But
I'm getting my coffee fixed.
no, you're good. Once he was able to see that there was no more spiritual activity and things have settled down, he went back into it.
You know,
But
we also did try to go back in that room at some point to debunk those doors opening, looking for we put paper in the vents and everything to see where wind was coming from. And it was still air. There was nothing coming out of the vents or nothing that would create that door to keep opening and closing. The locks were working properly. There was nothing there saying that there's no reason that door should have kept opening on themselves.
well, baby, you're right. What? Do you need something?
I don't remember.
Okay. I love you. I'll be down a little bit.
Hi, baby girl.
You want to say hi to Mark?
Mark.
Ladies and gentlemen, this is my daughter, Acacia. Say hi to everybody.
Hello, people.
Look how beautiful my little niece is.
And this is our next investigator in training. She keeps telling me she wants to go on one,
I just burnt myself with a hot glue gun.
which is why I didn't want to get you one. All right. I love you.
That sucks gonna hurt.
I love you, Acacia.
Love you too.
Okay.
Daddy, do you think we can use one of the copper wires and we can make a little face out of it?
Maybe. We'll talk about that later. Love you. Ah. Hey, everyone. Thanks again for tuning in. If anyone has any questions, let us know in the comments. And I actually will see, I think I can. I'll see if I can post that link. Maybe.
You know,
So
I can't see the comments, but if there's any questions for me, if you're more than welcome to read them to me, and I'll answer them the best I can about that video.
Absolutely. So here is the link to the Facebook where that video lives. If anybody wants to check it out, it's very cool. Let's see here. And hey, Drew, thanks for tuning in. So what else? Like, I don't know. There's just so much to paranormal investigating.
Oh, there's so much.
And personally, I never liked the term ghost hunting because not hunting them.
We're
I-
resolving.
I like that, yeah. And I like the fact that we just tried to strike up a conversation is all we were doing, just to see if we could, in fact, find evidence of life after death.
Absolutely. And you know, people a misconception that people have about quote unquote ghost hunting is that, you know, no, you have to have specific qualifications and do this and do that to be a ghost hunter, and you really don't. Now, it's whether you use it properly and use those powers that you have and do things the proper way is another story. I mean, there's so many people go out there, you know, they're wanting to find the evil things. And it's a lot of that has to do with the commercial viewing of things on TV. And it's not always like that.
Yes. And I remember we got invited to go to the Esquire, which is one
Yep.
of the oldest. Yeah, you were there with us when we did that, were you? Yeah, yeah.
I believe so.
one of the oldest theaters in Cincinnati, and they were showing Paranormal Activity 2 or 3. I don't remember which one, but they invited us to do a Q&A presentation afterwards, after the show. And there was this colored lady in the audience. She was all up in her feels, and she's like, "That's so freaky!" And she's jumping up, hooting and hollering. And she's like, "Is it really like that?" I'm like, "No,
It's not.
no,
They
that's
they too many shows have commercialized what we do for a hobby.
yes,
If you look at a lot of things like ghost hunters, I got nothing against them. I preferably don't like to watch them because they make people think that every time you go on an investigation, they get things. They overdo certain things, and you only in an hour show they don't get to see everything that goes into it. And
yes,
and you don't always go on an investigation and always get something. How many times have we gone to an investigation and went over hours and hours and hours of evidence and got nothing?
that is a very good point. And we got some comments going on here.
Sweet.
Let us. There are so many possibilities in our universe. Opening the mind will only give us further insight into all that lives within. Your experiences are valid. Thank you.
Oh, I love it.
Beautiful statement. Thank you
V-
so much for sharing.
Very well said.
Carwin, I'm sorry if I'm mispronouncing the name, but thank you very much. And you are
It's
quite right. And that
very
was
well said.
one of the main things that I would always try to tell clients. Like, there is something within you that is calling this experience to you. If you resolve that thing within you, this experience will go away. And Drew, thanks so much for tuning in. I try now and say spirit seeking. Yes, yes, thank you.
I like that. I
I
like
know
that.
that. Spirit seekers. Yes, that is very cool. And my only purpose is doing what I do, out seeking spirits to talk to them if they want a voice and to cross them over if they're stuck. Yes, and my shamanic mentor was very adamant about this, is that shamans give voice to the voiceless. And we did oh, what the heck is that one? Oh, he's talked about it. The one in Arkan, the asylum. I can't remember the name.
Are you talking about the one up in northern Ohio, or are you talking about the one in Louisville?
The one in northern Ohio.
That the I want to say I know which one you're talking about. I can't think of the name of it all of a sudden. I
It
think it
was
was it was the polio hospital.
Yeah, well, it was a teaching hospital, and they did a lot of experiments around tuberculosis, as well
That's
as
the word I was looking for. Tuberculosis.
mental health. So when this hospital was up and running, the stories there, the claims is that they would have 100 people dying a day. So many deaths, in fact, that they created a secret tunnel to be able to take the bodies out the back so that the public wouldn't see how many people were dying.
Yep, the death tunnel.
Yes. And after this got closed down, the college bought it and turned it into an extension of there where they would hold classes and that. And oh, the college closed it down after there was somebody got hurt or something. They didn't use it anymore. But during the hospital days, one of the patients escaped and ended up murdering and raping a nurse in one of the upper floors. And if you were to go in, the blood stain from where she died was still on the floor, even though that they had the floors replaced. They literally took out all the boards that had blood stains on them and replaced them with brand new ones, and those stains came back the exact shape that was before. And something super interesting about that is the place where it was built, the town. There it sits in the center, surrounded by 5 cemeteries that form a 5 pointed star. If you're familiar with anything esoteric, these are or five pointed star is a very powerful symbol. And it was one of these cemeteries was long forgotten about. The town didn't even, or the town council didn't even know about this until we started investigating and researched it. And it was a small little family cemetery. I think only had like 6 or 7 people buried there, but that formed the base right corner of the five pointed star with this place in the middle of it. So that was, in my opinion, done by design. So whoever the architect was behind all that had some maybe nefarious or pretty grand energetic ideas about what was going to happen there. And when I went there, you can see in the front it looks beautiful. It's a park now, and it just looks gorgeous. You go into the back and you just see row after row after row of headstones, and there's no names; they're just numbers. So all of these people that died there, they died voiceless. And when we went there, I did a little ritual to help give them a voice, so that that energy, that expression, could be released and moved on.
You know, kind of make you laugh a little bit. Speaking of having a voice, when we went to go do Doe's grave, that woman definitely had a voice.
Yes, you did. Before we get into that, Drew, thanks so much for sharing it out. And Mark, Drew says it's very nice to meet you, and she loves to getting to know people and hearing the stories.
Thanks, Drew. It's really nice to hear from you. Thank you for the amazing comments.
Um, Doe is my grandmother, and a little bit of context. She was actually the very first spirit I ever seen. She lived with me and my family when I was little until the point where we couldn't take care of her anymore. I had to put her in a home. And 2 days after she died, me and my friends were playing hide and go seek. And in my room, you opened the closet, and then there was another little door to go into the attic. And that's where I was hiding there while my friends were looking for me. And classic sign, I was hiding there. Everything, it's in the attic. There's stuff all around me, insulation. It was very hot. And then all of a sudden, it got cold. And the hairs in the back of my neck stood up. And I knew something was standing behind me, but I was too scared to turn around to look at it. And I was right by the front door. My friend whipped open the door, looked right at me. All the color drained out of his face, turned white as a sheet, and then just ran back downstairs. And finally, after a few moments, I got the courage to turn around, and I saw my grandmother standing behind me, which then amply freaked me out, and I went running down the stairs. And I was running so fast, I was so scared, I ended up running into the wall and busted my nose. I got a bloody nose out of it. So fast forward, we come up to Michigan to do an investigation, and we go to my grandmother's grave to do an EVP session, see what we get. And I can't, I don't really think I can say. She was very adamant, like she'd make a sailor blush, to give you guys an example. But we definitely got a clear voice about what was going on.
It was definitely not for the kind of language you want to have around your kids.
Right.
I think we all got a laugh that night.
That was pretty cool.
It was.
And thank you so much again, Drew. That is amazing to see others fulfill that purpose too. And very much appreciated, dear sister, and all that we do, all of us. I still feel like this is very, very important, and people still have experiences that they're looking for answers. And that's one of the reasons why I started doing what I did. I wanted people to understand that they weren't alone in these things. And that by having a community and being able to share that story, it helps take some of the fear out of it, some of the scariness, and it makes it much more manageable for us.
But you know, fear isn't always a bad thing to have though either.
Whew. Elaborate on that, man.
You know, like fear can motivate. Like when I before I started investigating, I always had a fear of the spiritual world, fear of death, fear of what's going to come next. And fear is what motivated me to start asking questions. Asking questions leaded me into guidance, and guidance led me into spirit seeking, as they now call it. And I still have that fear, but the fear is what keeps me going on trying to get answers that I've never asked or that I never could get.
So would you say that's fear, or would you say that you were able to transmute that fear into curiosity?
It's it more started off as fear, and now it's like half fear, half curiosity. Because I still have that fear, but it's still now more, it's like kind of in the middle of the curiosity of what comes next, not the fear. But it's more the fear that keeps me going. The curiosity is motivates me to get through that fear.
Nicely said, my friend. Really dig that.
Thank you.
You're welcome. We got another comment here from Miss Drew. I always say I'm a witch in my soul, but spirits are my passion and getting to hear their story. Yes,
I love hearing a spirit story.
I do too.
And especially when we've had those nights, we tend to use a lot of, I wouldn't say secondhand equipment, but we use like non-conventional equipment. And like how I brought in that light up bobber to our equipment. We tend to get a lot of stories out of that when we ask questions. We get it to light up. We can get flashlights to light up. We can get sounds through white noise. There's so many different ways that we can hear a spirit story from the spirit world.
That is correct. And I'm glad dude, I totally forgot about those bobbers. So thank you for mentioning that.
It was so non-conventional. I mean, it all started off with us going fishing, and I got those light up bobbers for us to use because they're easier to see. And then I started thinking it doesn't take much to get them to light up, but
Yeah,
all you gotta do is unscrew the top just enough to where it'll only light up if it's moved. And we'd set them in the middle of a floor where they weren't moved. We'd make sure they weren't rolling or nothing like that, and we could use them to get answers.
yeah. So what we would do, and you can get these at Walmart for like $10, I think they were.
Yep.
Just unscrew the top just enough to where if you tap it, it'll make the connection and make the bobber light up.
And they're also got those mini weights in them that rattle,
Hmm.
so they can be moved too, and you can hear it moving.
And we would use that for yes no questions. Ah, can't believe I forgot about that, man. That was such a cool tool.
And it was so unconventional.
Yeah, and much cheaper than some rim rods or some spirit boxes.
Right, right. So much cheaper, especially with the amount of flashlights we'd lose.
And the batteries, oh my goodness,
Right.
we spent a small fortune in batteries.
We had a small fortune in what are those flashlights we used to buy? Those big metal ones that we used to buy.
The meg lights,
The mag lights. How many of those we would lose in the water?
yeah, we lost a few. But all of this, like, and Drew, I full heartedly agree with you. Is everything has a story, and it's even energetically. We like if we have an energetic blockage somewhere, there's a story attached to that energy, and once we what's the word I'm looking for? Bring awareness to that story, the energy in that story dissipates, and that story is then expressed. And to me, that's what a lot of spirit seeking is getting those stories, hearing them, witnessing them, allowing them to be expressed, so that that energy can really be at rest. I talk to a lot of people that would tell me, oh, my grandma, grandpa, mom, dad, aunt, uncle, someone in the family is around us, wanting to know that they're okay, we're okay. One of the other greatest investigations we did is this other lady that I worked with. We both did. We both worked at Walmart. She had a huge collection of ceramic dolls, like
uh,
hundreds of them.
I remember.
And she called me one day freaking out. that she was putting her kids' laundry away, and she put underwear and socks in the drawer, closed the drawer, and went into another room. When she came back, that drawer was open, and the socks were throwing themselves out of the drawer. So then she told her husband to get a hold of me, and we set up the investigation. And it turned out she ended up having an aneurysm. And if it wasn't for the quick response of her husband, she probably would have died. He got her to the hospital just in time for them to go in there and alleviate the pressure on her brain and save her life. So this experience, we looked at that as it literally saved her life, scared the hell out of her, but it saved her life. And when we did the investigation, they would tell us that their front door would open and close all the time, they said. And I think it was like around 11:30, their upstairs neighbor, they lived in an apartment building, would come home and, no offense, but she was a bigger girl, and she walked really heavy. And when she would slam her door, and when she slammed that door, that created a vibration down the wood that caused their door to swing open. So that was one of the ways that we could debunk that there's not anything paranormal. Just ask your neighbor not to slam her door when she comes home, and should be good. But in that, we out of the where the dolls were all in her bedroom above her headboard. Like, she had a shelf there that she had them all in, and we seen this giant. It looked like an orb, but it was oblong. It wasn't a perfect circle. We seen it come out of the doll's center of the chest, buzz around the room, and then fly back into it. And it was shortly after that we started getting intuitive insights about her grandmother. And she showed me this little brooch that her grandmother taught her how to make jewelry when she was a kid. And the brooch broke. And we just kept telling her, like, fix it. Just fix the brooch and see what happens. She did, and the activity stopped. So what we correlated that to is that the activity was from her grandmother getting her attention to A, go to the hospital because she needed it, and to B, to know that she was protected, that she was looked after, that even though they're not physically here, they're still being cared for and loved. So that was a very cool investigation.
Yes, yes, it was.
And it's funny to me now, like, what has it been? I think like 10 years almost since the team was up and running. It's been,
It's been a long time.
but I'm getting the call, the poll. That's all I'm starting to think about is, man, I'd just love to go on an investigation.
It's definitely something we got to set up the next time you come down here or I come up there. The itch is definitely still there.
Yes.
It's definitely still there.
And I love it so much. And I love the research of it, getting to know the people, the experiences, the stories. And if you do have a group and you want to get into this, make friends with the county auditor. It will
Yep.
save so much time and research. And literally, like, there's all kinds of records about the land and the property. One of the things that we would do is, once we got a case, is I would go to the county auditor and I would have them pull the records for me. Hey, Paranormal Hub Worldwide, thanks for tuning in.
Thank you.
And normally they would make it was a self-service, you would have to do it, but by making friends with them, they did it for me, and they would add things to it, like things that they knew from growing up in the area from when they were younger. And I really liked those little personal insights. It was very, very helpful. And what was another case that we did?
We've done a lot of different cases.
Were you with us when we did the World War, or no, the Civil War Museum in Clifton?
No, that one I think I actually had to work that night.
I think you did.
I still think one of the coolest places was that African American cemetery that was down on 5 Mile Road.
Oh, I forgot about that, dude.
We got a lot of, even though we didn't get any like physical EVPs or anything, We have definitely gotten, even as separate people have gone down there and gotten some cool stuff. Like I've told you about my friend that took pictures down there, the tree that was in the far corner, and got took multiple pictures of a noose that was sitting in that tree.
Yes. And I remember one of I think it was Bruce actually, dude.
It's a good possibility.
Um, but one of the people that I worked with showed me this that they were hanging out there around night and just snapped a couple pictures and clear as day. It looks just like you can see this. It looks like a piece of rope coming down with a little loop at the end of it, and it looks like it's starting to kind of sway.
Yep. Did you ever get a chance to go down to Chicken Hollow Road?
No, I never made it down there.
I've actually been down there a few times. And I think because it's a very small cemetery that's down there. I think that there's something down there that the people around there are protecting, and I'll tell you why. Because all the times I've gone down there, um, they're very leery about the people that go there. Like kind of like you feel very out of place at that cemetery. I haven't gotten I've gotten some experiences, but not in the EVP form. It's just very unsettling when you go there. It's a cool place. It's just very unsettling. It's out in the middle of the woods somewhere.
Yes.
And it's actually, I'd love to bring you down there. It's a cool place.
When I come down, we'll definitely check that out. And real quick, we got some more comments here I'd like to share. Beautiful energy here. Many scientists have different theories, not complete answers to life. It's valuable for us to keep experiencing and learning objectively. Absolutely. I couldn't agree more. And that's beautifully said, by the way,
Very beautifully said.
Sheridan. Thank you so much for sharing. And yeah, like truth itself is objective to the user's experience. My experience of truth is going to be different than Mark's and everybody else. We can take those pieces and see how they can fit together to formulate a collective truth for us so that we can move and navigate through the experience of life together in a more fluid way with less resistance. Very cool. And that's true. Experience makes us wiser and stronger. Yes, it does.
Absolutely. Very well said.
Yes. You know, my dad would always say that experience is the best teacher. And thanks, Dad. You were right. uh, and then Miss Drew. Yeah, it's good to hear other people's opinions. Adults can always agree to disagree, which is very true. Two, it makes it for peace. Not everyone's experience is the same as the either. That's exactly right. And by being able to share our experiences, we can look for similar patterns and we can find ways to expand and grow in them.
We've definitely come a couple of times where we could agree to disagree on certain things.
Oh, yes. Little sage. Love the smell of it. Mm. So there's that one. All right.
I'm loving these comments.
Me too. It's like the Greyfriars in Edinburgh. The minute the darkness hits, it all changes from pure peace to be cautious. Yes.
Now,
Yeah.
didn't I always tell you that if I would love to go to Scotland to investigate, like down at Scotland Yards?
That would be amazing. And that Drew is in Scotland.
And that's what I'm saying. That would be absolutely. I'd like to know if she's experienced anything, if she's gone to Scotland Yards to investigate anything down there to see what kind of experiences she's had.
Blessings, sisters. Just reading the rest of the comments.
Oh, and also, Mike, if you want, you can also put my email for people to see also if they have any personal questions for me also if you'd like. And yes, I still use my APRT email. If you remember what that is.
Always. That's why I set it up. It was easy for me to remember. So much.
Anyway, would you like me to go back and explain that video, how that all came about?
Yeah, let's hit on that.
So when we were at this client's house, a bunch of us had actually gone outside to go look under the house to see what we could see under the house and check out the yard and the perimeter and everything. And one of the people, because none of us could fit under the house except for one person. Larry was the tiniest person in the group. He was the one going under the house. But I had actually walked in to get something. And if you watch the video, you'll see me come in from the backyard, and I'm the one with the flashlight walking across the room into where we had all of our equipment. We had the computer set up in the dining room. That was the safe, the quiet space. And I just walked by, and it's just there was a cold. I just felt cold chill. Didn't think nothing of it. And when we were going over the many hours of evidence that we had for that investigation, that just shocked the hell out of me. Like it was one of the most unbelievable experiences, not knowing that there was someone following you and watching you. And it wasn't like that typical, like there's always someone watching you or anything like that. It was just very peaceful. He wasn't there doing harm. He was more investigating why we were there.
Yeah.
While we were investigating him, he was investigating us at the same time.
And I don't think I ever said this or told anybody, but when we were there, I always kind of got the feeling like he was seeing if we were actually trying, like really cared about his mom.
And I can see that. I can definitely agree with that. I think he wanted to make sure that we weren't being harmful,
Yes.
and for him to show things like himself like that, I think he was more feeling like he was in a safe place, and he's trying to get a message across.
Safe to open up.
Yep.
And to boot, during that clip, I'll play that clip again here in just a moment. But at that time, Mark was the only living person in the house at the time of this video. Everybody
Yep.
else was either outside in the backyard or out in the front yard having a smoke break.
Yep. I was literally the only one in the house, only one in the room. The only thing there was that camera.
Yep.
Nobody else was there. And if you look, the figure behind me is also extremely transparent. You can see the outline of the figure, but if you look at me compared to what's walking behind me, you can definitely tell there's no transparency to me, but there was to the spirit walking behind me.
Right. And looking, it might be hard to see it on that particular clip, but if you can pause it just right when it moves from behind the counter, it there's no feet.
Nope.
It's the head, the neck, the torso, the legs, but it stops at the ankles.
Yep. And you can, if you really pay attention, you can see the movement of his legs, his knees, his hips. You can physically see him walking, but you don't see his feet walking. You don't see his feet there physically.
Right. Let's play it again.
And you can almost see his arms swinging,
Yeah.
like he's just nonchalantly walking around the house.
Thank you, my friends. And that's just one of the best pieces of data we ever collected. I love that.
And I love that it happened to me.
We did have some people that were kind of upset that it didn't happen to them.
I don't know if maybe it's my spiritual energy that I was putting off that he felt safe. I don't know.
Maybe. Or personally, I always looked at it as you were the only living entity in the house. So he was wondering what you were, it's okay, you're this thing here and you can interact. So what are you doing? I'm going to follow you to find out what you're doing.
Right. There's a lot of different possibilities to that.
There is. And a little bit of context for those just tuning in. The lady who contacted us to come out and investigate, her son, her 18-year-old son, passed away 2 weeks before this from a brain aneurysm. He was at a church lockdown thing, and she got a phone call the next day saying that he passed away. And then it was about 2 or 3 days after that when she first started telling me that she was having experiences. Well, this lady was also a very close friend of mine. She was part of our coven, so we talked very frequently. Oh, and thank you, Carrie Win. Thank you so much. I love that. And the link that I posted, there is another clip of the same video that I ran through a light filter to lighten it up a little bit. So it might be a little easier. And on the Facebook, you can actually pause the video so you can, if you want to check it out for a little bit more detail. I can't pause it here; it won't let me.
And thank you for watching it. I'm very glad you got to see it. It was a very good experience.
It was very awesome. And my friends, that is all the time we have for this installment of Spirit Medicine. So thank you very much for tuning in and hanging out with us. I'm touched. Thank you so much. And thank you, Mark, for joining, man. It was very cool.
And not a problem. Like I said, more than welcome to put my email in the comments for anybody who has questions for me. I'm glad I was able to come on, and I appreciate you inviting me. And thanks everybody for the comments.
Hold on. I can't type your name, dude.
MARK at gmail.com.
Awesome. My friends, I would like to close this with a simple little energy technique. So this is called the heart chakra mudra. Our hands, our whole body is an energy circuit. So this mudra is this. When you do that and hold it to your heart, it helps your heart to open up. And especially if you do any type of investigating, it's very important that we have good spiritual hygiene and keep our aura clear. This helps with that. Doing that just a few moments, even if it's just 30 seconds a day, helps the heart center to open up and regulate and clear your field. Very powerful and simple technique. And on our next installment, so these are every Sunday between 3 to 4. Our next installment, we're going to be talking about the Ascended Masters, particularly Saint Germain. Who are the Masters, what they do, and how we can connect and channel them to get some practical help in our everyday life. So, and as always, my friends, from my heart to yours, there's much love. We'll see you later. Bye.